just 2 days left until voters head to the polls.
As it has with the entire election, the direction of this campaign is changing every day. We're joined once again by two people who have helped shape policy and political conversation here in Minnesota.
Brian McClung and Katharine Tinucci from public relations firm MZA and Company join us. Katharine is the former campaign manager and press secretary to Governor Mark Dayton. Brian worked as press secretary and deputy chief of staff to Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, Donald Trump came to Minnesota today.
What a day.
He was in Wisconsin on Tuesday. Is there really an opening for Donald Trump to win not just Wisconsin, but Minnesota that hasn't gone for Republicans since 1972?
Well, in the last couple of cycles, they've looked at these states really as a trio of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, right? Mini-Wis Iowa, they would call it.
What?
And so if you lump all of those states together, that's a pretty good...
What was it called again?
Mini-Wis Iowa.
Mini-Wis
right?
Iowa.
But Minnesota's first in that, so to be clear. And so,
Mini-Wis
you know, the
Iowa.
upper Midwest has been in play and has been a battleground state. But, you know, Minnesota, I think this time is not really near the top of that list. I think we're probably 9th or 10th on the list of closest races right now. So it's a little bit out of range for Trump to be visiting here. I do think, though, you know, Mike Pence is going to be in northern Minnesota, in Duluth tomorrow. That actually makes a little bit more sense to me. I think there's some momentum on the Iron Range. We've seen Trump polling at 11 or 12
But it doesn't mean
points
he's going to
ahead
win
up there.
Minnesota.
No,
I mean,
but you could put that in play, and that northern Wisconsin.
Sure.
Wisconsin is a more plausible case than Minnesota.
So, Katharine, Iowa's out of reach for Hillary Clinton. I think that's going to Trump.
Probably.
Minnesota, you know, it's 8 points here that we know of, but they say that's within the margin of error. So Wisconsin, maybe?
I suppose perhaps. I think, you know, what this visit said to me today more than anything is Trump's not even sure what his path is. Hillary Clinton knows, her campaign knows what they need to do to perform on Election Day to win the race. Donald Trump seems to be trying a little bit of everything just to see if something might stick.
But suddenly, Michigan appears to be in play. Hillary Clinton's going back to Michigan on the last night of the campaign.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, and I think that she has been very aggressive in some of the southern and western states where we've seen really strong Latino voters turning out in early voting, and we expect they'll turn out on Election Day. And she has to do a little catch-up, perhaps, in some of the more traditional states like Michigan.
Brian McClung, I think some people, or at least some of the Trump people, might consider you as one of the political elites in the GOP world.
Wow.
Trump went over after...
I've never heard the word elite used to describe you. Yes.
But seriously, what does it say that Trump, in 24 hours, was able to pull together this extraordinary rally with thousands of supporters who are not necessarily aligned with traditional GOP operatives?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yes, I think the Trump crowd would say Brian McClung is part of the establishment, right? That's not who Trump is trying to appeal to, and that's not who showed up at the rally today at the airport. And so, no question, there's grassroots support. There are people who are really
But what does that say about the future of the Republican Party? I mean, are you worried?
Well, you got to remember, in 2010, there was the Tea Party movement, right? And so a lot of those people then got involved and got active in the Republican Party. Now Donald Trump has maybe brought some new people, some blue-collar voters, you know, some people without college degrees into the Republican Party. So there is room for a big tent in the Republican Party from my perspective. Now, some of the things that Trump has said, I strongly disagree with. So there are going to be issues there in trying to integrate everybody into the party, but it can be a big tent party.
Well, it's going to be really something to watch over the next couple of weeks, no matter who wins, because it's going to be really something in Washington. But here in Minnesota, it's been a critical week for MNsure on the first day of enrollment. The government said robocall sabotage slowed the phone lines, and the website crashed briefly, but in an unexpected kumbaya moment, Governor Mark Dayton and House Speaker Kurt Daudt, you don't see this very often, look at this, emerged from the governor's mansion to pledge they will work together for legislation in a special session soon after the election to provide relief for those hardest hit by skyrocketing premiums. They have gone through the roof. Do you guys believe what you're seeing here? I mean, really, they haven't been able to agree on anything in the last couple of years. What do you think, Katharine?
I think something needed to be done, and I'm very glad that Governor Dayton is in the position he is. He's the only one who has offered a solution to fix this. We have not heard a proposal like this.
Well, the guy who created the problem.
Well, no, but
No.
he's the guy who's in charge. He is certainly he is responsible. And he then should get all the credit for the fact that we have the lowest rate of uninsured Minnesotans ever.
Sure, there are good things.
There are
You bet.
many, many good things.
You bet.
And so he stepped up to the plate, acknowledged that there was a problem, and said, let's fix it. And is it ideal? Of course not. Is this going to last for forever? No, we're going to need a longer term fix. But he had a proposal, and I'm glad that Speaker Dowd is coming along with that.
And here's the thing, in the final month of this campaign season, the #1 issue that candidates are hearing about at the doors is the rising cost of health insurance, and Democrats own this in Minnesota. Mark Dayton signed the executive order that put us into Obamacare. Democrats passed MNsure on a party line vote, and when Republicans proposed reforms, Democrats stopped
no,
that.
Republicans have
This is what we're
So
seeing.
what happens to the Minnesota Senate? Does the Minnesota Senate go GOP because of this?
Well, I think you are going to see some strong anti-incumbent feelings overall, right? I mean, we talk about thousands of people showing up for a Donald Trump rally who weren't normally involved in politics. I think people are looking for change, and they're interested. There is kind of that feeling of, we need to do something differently. So I think that can affect both the Republican majority in the House and the DFL majority in the Senate.
We're asking for prediction.
But it's disingenuous to say that this doesn't work, we should throw them out, without having a real viable alternative. And Republicans have failed to offer like a real solution to the problems that MNsure has faced.
But Katharine, what kind of solution could there be? I mean, the governor was here with Speaker Dowd this morning on WCCO Sunday Morning, saying they both said they want to work for this temporary fix.
This haven't come up with something.
The governor said, well, and then Congress is going to have to fix this in 2017. I said, Governor, really? Do you think that's going to work? And he said, well, I sort of hope so. I mean,
yes.
Realistically, Brian McClung, is that going to happen?
Well, there's things that the state can do to try to resolve this, and it's not fair to say that Democrats are the only ones with idea. In fact, Governor Dayton said to Tax Chair Greg Davids, thank you for one of your ideas. That's a constructive idea. Maybe we can incorporate that. So I think both sides are trying to put forward some tax rebates, some other things that they can try to piece together a short-term fix. But longer-term fixes do need to happen in Washington because this is a federal program, ultimately, right? And so you're going to have to find ways to rein this in. And that's the problem.
But
it only focused on access. It didn't focus on cost. So when they
Catherine,
called it Affordable Care Act, it
November
never happened.
9th, I don't see people coming together. I don't see it yet.
It has to happen. It has to happen. People have to vote, and then we have to work together.
All right. Well, thank you both, Katharine Tinucci and Brian McClung. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.